Hello, hello, and welcome to another video. And in this one, I'm doing a deep dive into the Akashiya watercolor brush pens and the paper that they also create. Now, I was actually able to find the manufacturing website, um, which, would you know, it was linked, or linked isn't the right word for in real life things, but it was written on the pamphlet there. So I was able to find that and able to get some information, um, which is pretty cool. So Akashiya Fude was founded in 1716 as a manufacturer for calligraphy and Sumi ink brushes. But I also found they have a store in Nara City. Um, they You can actually shop in there. They also run a tour if you book prior. But they also do a brush making experience where you can make your own brush in store, which is really cool. For a bit extra, you can pay to get your name engraved onto it, though they have to keep it there and then ship it to you later, and they'll only ship within Japan. So if you want to do that, that's something to do like at the start of your trip and get it shipped to you at one of your later stays. But that's pretty cool. So they also make paper. Now, before I looked any of this up, I decided to explore it with the watercolor brush pens that they were sold with. So the brush pens I have are the uh, pale set. So they have like a few new ranges of colors. So that's what they was selling at this store. So they had the pale set, and advertised with it were a bunch of different paper also made by Akashiya Fude. Um, Now the one with the purple said that it was the most smudgy, and the blue green was the least, and they had varying ranges in the middle there. Now when it translates to smudge, I believe that just means bleed. As you can see there, on the purple one, it bled quite heavily without too much pushing. It bled quite heavily, where there's not a lot of bleed on the blue paper, the paper with the blue label. Obviously, all the paper is white or just off white. But when looking into this more, this paper is definitely designed for calligraphy more than watercolor, which is definitely why I think I struggled a bit to work with it. This was definitely an experiment and just sort of mess around. These papers weren't too expensive, but they were a lot of fun to play with. I definitely preferred the blue paper, the paper that didn't smudge or didn't bleed as much. And later in the video, I explored Sumi ink on it and had a great time. But in the interim, while I definitely enjoyed it more with these brush pens, I wouldn't say I had a great experience. Now, I have since tried these brush pens. The end of the video, I tried them on watercolor paper in a cute little illustration, which I think turns out quite good. As you can see here, it's starting to pill. So this paper is definitely not cotton. I don't exactly see the manufacturing information when I try and translate. It's not coming up for me. But definitely pilling quite a bit. Can't handle a lot of water. And overall, it was really not coming out how I liked it on that page. Whereas the blue label page, I preferred a lot more. It still didn't work as well as I'd like something watercolor based to work. So these markers, as you can see, work really well as markers. And I found I liked them a little bit more as markers on the page than when I added water. It didn't seem to get the right kind of watercolor effect. But on watercolor paper, it did change things quite a bit. I've also then tried it on some smooth sketchbook paper, just because I wanted to try it on some really smooth paper, and I didn't have really smooth watercolor paper. Now, the paper rippled because that's what, you know, cellulose paper does when you add water to it, but it looked really nice on smooth paper. So I will consider investing in some really smooth watercolor paper. I think hot press is the way to go, but even some hot press I find still like it's pretty smooth, but not as smooth as some 0% cotton paper you can get, which maybe that's just like the trade-off. Like cotton makes paper a little bit toothier. But as you can see, it's not too difficult to work on this paper. The least smudge paper, it's not too difficult to work on. And obviously I'm going with a very Japanese style design just because these are products I brought in Japan, made by a Japanese company. I very much enjoyed my time in Japan. And if I ever get to go again, I do think I would like to go to the Ayakashi storefront uh, if I'm able to go to Nara. And if I am there, I definitely think I will. Try and arrange a brush making experience. I think that would be amazing. Now I decided to try some actual watercolor on this paper just to see if that worked any better in case it was the brushes that were working. As I was messing around with these, I hadn't looked anything up. I was like, I'm just going to free experiment. So I thought maybe it's the brushes that aren't working too well. Maybe that's the problem with this paper. But as you can see, actual watercolor, the pigment doesn't spread on the purple page. It doesn't go anywhere. It lays down and the water spreads, but you can't move the pigment. It's very strange. I haven't had anything quite like it. So the water leaves marks and traces, but you can't move the pigment. Now, this watercolor is the Sakura watercolor that I'm working with here. I also brought it in Japan. I have 2 videos going through all the goodies that I got in Japan, which I will link. I'll probably just be going on about Japan for a while, honestly. But I didn't like watercolor on that paper either. So I got out some of my India ink. I have a little bit of a spill there, as you can see. Um, you know, artists, we always get things very, very messy. Obviously, I put down a bit more than I intended to right there, but when you're getting frustrated with something, and so you just start slapping things down wildly. Now, I do think the ink worked better on the purple paper, and so far everything I've tried on the blue label paper has worked fairly well. Like it's created a picture I'm decently happy with. And this here is Winsor & Newton ink that I'm trying just for like the different texture. And again, you can see how it's not really spreading at all. It's drying out very quickly. And this is a very good brush. Like this is a traditional style Japanese brush. It's one that I got on Facebook Marketplace well before I went to Japan, but I just wanted to use it for the authenticity. I don't know if that's the right word. Now I'm using some blue Winsor & Newton ink on the teal paper, and it's also working really well. So the blue label paper is accepting things really well, but you can see it's the exact same blue I'm using on both of these. Some of the other colors aren't the same, but the exact same blue. It comes up much more vibrant on the purple paper, purple label paper. But it was, yes, quite the challenge to get things to do what I wanted them to do. Put a little bit of Sumi ink on here, but I end up trying Sumi ink completely separately on the teal paper because I figured I would like how it looked. But I also decided to use gouache. I'm using the Arts Studio Gouache here, and it worked pretty well on both. Gouache is a good opaque medium, so it's not too much of a struggle to get it to work on most papers. Um, so obviously it will work pretty well on most things. Um, but I can definitely confirm wash works nicely on the purple paper, which definitely a bonus, as I struggled to find a lot of things that I was happy with. Now, if you wanted to go more abstract, the purple label paper definitely lends itself to that. I like a little abstract, I guess, but I do prefer more structure in my work, but not too much structure. I don't know. I'm not describing it very well, but it does seem to the purple label paper is not something I would get again, as I have struggled to find a way to make it work in the ways that I wanted it to. But the blue label paper was definitely fun. And here I'm doing a bit of Sumi ink. Now, this was a Sumi ink set that I brought from an Australian company called the Paper Mill, which has since gone defunct as of 2023, I believe, as I was trying to find more information about this particular Sumi ink. Um, because when I brought it, I had never used Sumi ink before. This was well before I had started experimenting with, different mediums. I brought it a long time ago and just sort of held on to it, and it still works really, really well. It's a cake that just needs to be wet, but it's the only way I've ever found this kind of Sumi ink. Everything else is either in the sticks that you blend up yourself or in liquid form bottles. I've never seen a cake like this made by any other company. So if you know any other companies that make cakes like this, the Sumi Ink sort of cake wells that you add water to, um, do let me know. I am quite interested. Um, it's very beautiful. It works very well for me. I believe that it is genuine. If it's not genuine Sumi ink, it's definitely light fast, as I've painted some things that have sat in the living room and have not faded at all. So whatever it is, it's definitely light fast, and I've enjoyed working with it. It lends itself to not being too messy, like liquid inks can be if you spill them or the like. But you can't get quite the same richness and vibrancy in color as you can with the sticks, because it's very difficult to scrape off amounts where I have with Sumi ink. Went to a workshop where I was able to use the stick on the sort of grind pad, and then you can separate it into different wells and add more water into different bits, so you have a range of tones just readily available to you. Whereas with the cake, I found you have to start off more, tends to be one color, and then it's easier if you start light and add more color over the top to get darker. Um, as I'm not super fluent in knowing what I'm doing, it can sort of muddle together, as I don't quite have the adaptability to just um, go crazy and do all the techniques that good Sumi ink artists can. But I'm working on it. Here, I'm doing it in my calligraphy journal that I use for ink artworks, so I can compare it on each paper. And I find that they have a similar quality. Now, this is a little bit bigger. Um, I do tend to find working larger is better for me. I think I just don't have good depthness to work on small sizes, but it is fun and it is a good challenge. Um,
So I do wanted to just compare directly. This is the Rhodia Touch Calligraphy Journal, which I will link down below, and it seemed to have pretty similar effects in how the paper took the ink as the blue label Akashiya Fude did. Um, Now I didn't try on the purple label paper as I was getting quite disheartened with it. Um, or I didn't try in this video, I should say. I uh, dabbled with it a little. I did some sort of flicking on it just to see how flicks would work on the paper. And I think I'll be able to get it to work. I just need a little break to come back to it. Um, because I know I will just try rushing things and it won't work too well for me. So I just need a little break. Here I am using a smaller brush to get better details. This is not a traditional Japanese brush at all. This is just a brush that came with a watercolor pencil set that I have. Um, it works quite well for doing these fine details. Um, so, it might be, maybe it's I use too big a brushes frequently. Maybe that's why I can't get um good work done smaller, or work that I am proud of in smaller formats. Um, but yes, I found that the paper held it very similar to the journal. There wasn't a huge amount of difference. Very similar dry times. They probably would dry a lot faster today, which was a 38-degree day here in Australia. When I did this, I think it was about 20 degrees, so it dries a bit slower. That's fine. Um, Unless you are like me and you can't stop fiddling with things. Um, it's fine in work like this. But with watercolor, it's my biggest weakness is not being able to let things dry enough. I just want to work on it now. I want to do it now. Why can't I do it now? And then I get muddiness that I don't want because I have no patience, which is fine. Um, you live and learn. What I need to do is have multiple watercolor projects going on at the same time. So I am able to jump from piece to piece when I'm like, okay, I am ready to go. I'm ready to keep playing. I want to keep going, but I need this to dry. I can jump onto another painting. It's like, it's right there. It's right ready for me to go. And it'll stop me from refusing. So maybe that is a goal for 2026. Um, Here I am back in the journal playing with the Sumi ink again. This video has definitely derailed from its original content. But as I was creating these, I was just having a lot of fun and wanted to sort of share it with you guys. Share just an appreciation for different art forms. Um, I think Sumi ink has gotten quite popular, but it's definitely not one I knew about when I was younger. Um, and it's probably one that I would have enjoyed. I don't know if everyone else went through real monochrome phases in their teenage years, um, or maybe like any time where it was just sort of like, ugh, color, so gross. And so you just want everything to be black, white, and grey. Singing would have been great. Um, if I think I did buy this set when I was sort of like coming out of that, and then I didn't use it because life got crazy, and so it just sat waiting for me. But I'm using it now, so kudos to me. Um, I feel like I'm already achieving things that I've been wanting to achieve for ages. I am in a much better head state, so that is definitely a lot of fun. Um, So yeah, I'm looking forward to 2026. It should be very good. Now, this was a little drawing. It's a little late now because the Christmas period is over, but it was a little pun. It is the Christmas spirit. If I think I'm funny. If no one else does, I think I'm funny. This is using the Sai Akashi watercolor brushes on watercolor paper. Um, and you can see how well that the color actually blends. Please ignore my hair. Sorry, I'm getting too close in to the frame there. I apologize for that. But you can see it actually spreads quite well. Um, that yellow-green color works really well for the lights, and it's spreading really well on watercolor paper, as opposed to the paper that was advertised with it. I don't think that's the best paper to come with it. It definitely made me start with a negative impression of these pens. But you can use them without water to get fine detail work, like the edge of the wreath crown. But then to get that more watercolory look, you put some water down first so it blends out and it, works quite well. You can do different types of mediums with it. It does work so you can put it down and then wet it to blend it, or you can add water down first and then add some color to get a different effect. So they do work really quite well. Now, I can't find any light fast information, so I don't believe they're light fast. That is how I take it. If I don't have the information, it's not light fast. Now I could run my own tests, but I don't think I'd be using these for professional work. These would just be for fun. And they are fun now that I'm getting to use them on paper that works better. So I do recommend these pens. Uh, if it's a long roundabout way of saying these brush pens are a lot of fun, and they're probably the best brush pens I've ever used. Watercolor brush pens, I should say. I've used acrylic and alcohol brush pens that I've definitely enjoyed as well. But for watercolor brush pens, these are the best ones I have used myself. Now I think the online gold standard is the Tombow markers, which I do not have and have not used for myself. Um, but I have tried a few different cheaper brands, and these were not expensive, not in Japan at least. I'm not sure what importing costs would be, but they were definitely reasonably priced. So if you're in Japan, I do recommend these brushes. And if you're interested in different types of paper and you come across this, you can definitely give it a shot. Then it's not expensive paper. But that's pretty much it for this video. I had a lot of fun making it. Thanks for watching. And yeah, if I'm lucky, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.